Hello there, we promised, and we are here again with the Leaders World. Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute, is your space where we speak leadership, we speak personal development to take your life, your business, your family, your leadership one step forward. And guess what? Today we have all our guests present with us. Today, we are going to be celebrating the achievements of women. We're joining the global community, celebrating the achievements of women in the world. And we are going to be deliberating on how women can strategically own their own futures. Hey, you want to share this because it's coming hot and we are coming hot. All right. I'm going to introduce someone that's not a stranger to us. She is Coach Maggie, Coach Maggie Jean, Coach Maggie Jean. She is owner and CEO of MJ's Coaching and Business Solutions LLC. She is executive director with the John Maxwell Leadership Certified Team. She is a licensed and certified facilitator, coach, and team trainer. She has worked as a general manager with a very well-known Fortune 500 company where she led well over 100 employees. She knows firsthand how strength and leadership are keys to personal business effectiveness and growth, and she also knows the challenges and importance of developing independent, high-performing leaders. She conducts a business with high quality productivity, employee retention and growth, excellent quality customer service, outstanding financial results, high levels of performance, and with excellence and integrity, impacting the lives of many. With us today, we have Coach Maggie Jean. You're
Thank you
welcome,
so
ma'am.
much. Thank you so much, Susan. I am so honored to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
We are so honored to have you, and we are saying thank you so much for saying yes to our invitation to have this conversation. And we can say just how grateful we are that you chose to hang out with us here.
I am indeed grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have our professor in the studio with us. That's Professor Estella Atekwana. She is award-winning distinguished professor and multidisciplinary scientist with 30 years experience in higher education, leadership teaching, research, and consulting. She is internationally recognized in the field of geophysics. She has published 150 papers, 250 conference papers, more than 100 presentations. She has served as pioneer director on multidisciplinary, multi-institution, multinational projects worth about 11.7 million dollars in the US and sub-Saharan Africa. She is a well sought keynote speaker at conferences globally. She is the primary advisor for more than 100 PhD, MS, BS students. Ladies and gentlemen, with us, Professor Estella Atekwana.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really honored and delighted to be here today. And thank you for the invitation.
We are going into this conversation. First of all, I'll start with you, Professor. Do you think this conversation is worth having, women leadership and success?
Very much so. And it's really timely given that we are celebrating women this month. And
Yes.
I really believe that women need to see young women, young girls, need to see more women in leadership positions so that they can dream to be one day. So this is very, very timely and a conversation that we need to have not only today, but every day.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, if you have a young girl that's in your house right now and is not watching this, you want to bring them in so they are
Mhm.
watching with you. Coach Maggie, what is your view on women's contributions in the world today?
Thank you for that question, Susan. And I believe From days of old, women's contribution has been very, very important from the household, in the business places, in government, in every institution. And at this time, I think it is needed even more desperately now, because we can sometimes be considered the more stable of the two when we talk about men and women. Okay. And despite the fact that this is a topic on leadership, success, and women, because we're celebrating women this month and always, we are the peacemakers. We are the mothers.
Mhm.
We are the ones in the household who keep the stability. We are the ones in other institutions who bring the calm, who bring the level heads. It is just so important that we know our place in society, and our place is welcome always at the table or anywhere else.
Wow, so beautifully said. Thank you so much, Professor. What is your view on women's contributions in the world at this time?
Yeah, so just like Maggie has said, it's women's contributions really transcend all sectors of the global community, as is just eloquently articulated. And I can just to give a few examples that when we think about contributions, sometimes we think is you have to do something really big, but it could be the little things, right? It could just be the very little things. So, and as I was reflecting on this, and I said, there's some women who have done some truly phenomenal things. And I think about Rosa Parks. In American history, we know Rosa Parks. And people may not know this. She was an unknown seamstress that refused to give up her seat in a bus for a white man. I can say that today, many of us uh, are here today. I'm even talking to you today because of that one little courageous act that changed the course of history for African Americans and for civil rights as we know it. I also think about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was the first elected female president of any African country.
Yes.
She truly shattered that glass ceiling, allowing us women to dream of becoming presidents as well in African countries. As we know, the presidencies across the globe is just dominated by men. But these few women that have stood up in the course of history really changed history for us, allowing us to dream. And I'm always talking about this because when I think of myself as a leader, I'm thinking about the impact that I'm making on future generations.
Right.
Then I think about that um, mother, and I'm going to look at our African context. In the village, that wakes up very early in the morning, goes to the farm. Maybe it's a coffee farm, maybe it's to plant corn or whatever it is to sell because she believes in education. She believes in investing in her children because she wants them to have a brighter future. These are the types of phenomenal contributions that I think women bring, to the global community.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Talking about the contributions of women and the place of role models, coming to you, Coach Maggie. What do you think is that place of role modeling in the society for women? Like myself and like others who are listening to us or watching us at this time, what is that place of role modeling, and how, what are some qualities of a role model that we might be looking out for, as we strive to be who we are and to live out our best?
Thank you for that question, Susan. And we cannot underestimate what the professor has just said when she celebrated those mothers, those women who would go to the farms early in the morning, and whether it's a coffee farm, whether it's a vegetable farm, it doesn't matter. That is a role a woman plays in society. That's one of the many roles, and that's a very, very important role. Keeping the food chain going, Susan. That is so very important.
Yes.
But we as women, of course, we are mothers, we are wives, we are executives, we are teachers. All these roles are roles that young women can emulate when we do it well, exceedingly well, when we perform above average, because we are not average people. If we want young women to emulate what we do, we have to stand out, and we can. Everybody can do what somebody can do, but how well are you doing it to be a leader for another young woman to emulate you? How consistent are you? How
Mm,
much discipline you bring to the table? What do you want that person to draw from you
mm,
so that person can become even more than they ever thought that they could be? There's so many things, Susan, that we as women can bring to the table. We've overcome so many challenges, Susan, and there's so many more to come. But we have to be prepared, and we have to prepare ourselves educationally. We may not all be at that level of education, but there is something each one of us can do, and we can do it with excellence. And these are some of the things I do believe we bring to the table and we can do so that young women can emulate us.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. I am already loving this conversation a lot. Sometimes I wish I were just in the audience listening because I'm just enjoying it. But yes, I'm going to come back to listen to all of these nuggets. Professor Estella, let's talk about role modeling in the society. How vital is this for our young girls, for our women, like myself and everybody else watching us and listening to us at this time?
Role modeling is so important, right? When we think about it, um, we have athletes that are very famous, and people say, "Oh, that's my role model." Or we have musicians, or those people that are so famous, and we think those are role models. And as Maggie has just said, I just feel that role modeling, you have to really exhibit those positive attributes that inspire someone to want to be like you. That's really what
Mm,
this is all about, right? You set that great example for others to follow. Um, I'm within higher education and within the university context. And I would typically my students, when they graduate, or sometimes they will send me, especially the female students, even the students that have not even interacted with the entire time they've been in the department or at the university, I will get a note either from them or a parent saying, "Thank you so much for being my role model." And I'm saying, sometimes I don't even know these students. I'm like, who is this student? But they probably saw something in me that they really liked and wanted to emulate, and saw me as that positive person that they wish, that they hope to become one day, as they say, when they grow up. And so, um, not sure what happened to my. Can you see my picture?
we don't
Yeah,
see your picture, but we can still hear you.
Yes. Let me see what happened to my camera.
your media.
You're almost there.
Well, okay, I'm gonna keep talking. I'm not sure what happened to my camera all of a sudden. So I think, being a role model, you have to really exhibit those positive attributes of humility,
Okay.
of concern, of caring about people,
Hmm.
of doing your job with excellence so that people can see that. And that's very, very important to have positive role models, especially for young women in society.
Wow.
When UC Davis offered me this position, I was already a dean. at the University of Delaware. And I said, why do I want to go be another dean somewhere else? I'm already a dean. And lots of my friends called me and said, if you say yes to this, UC Davis is a very, very large institution. The portfolio I was being given was so large.
Mm.
Um, I am the head of the largest college within University of California, Davis. I oversee more than 15,000 students,
Wow.
118 majors, 36 departments, and a very large financial portfolio. And so they said, this is huge. If you do this, you will be inspiring so many young women and so many Black women.
Wow. So it wasn't just for you,
It
it
wasn't
was
for
for
me. It
all
wasn't
the
for me.
people who are looking up to you
Looking at
that
me.
you
Yes,
had to take up that
yep, yes,
responsibility.
yep.
Mm. Mm. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that and just bringing out those qualities of a good role model. If you want to work on your camera again, that's fine. Um, we are looking at women leadership and success, and while we are talking about this and the fact that we need role models, and because the girl child, the woman can be whosoever she chooses to be, the question that's coming into my mind, Coach Maggie, is do you think women have any limitations? Do you think women have any limitations? And if there are any limitations, what are some of the greatest limitations that women face?
That's a great question. Depends on who's listening to the answer and depends on who you're asking the question. But I do believe the only limitation we have, Susan, is that which we put on ourselves.
Hmm.
And I want to piggyback on because
Hold
that
on.
question you
Hold on, Coach Maggie. I really don't intend to interrupt. If you're watching us at this time, I want you to put in the comments hashtag no limitations. Can you do that for us, please? Let's know you're here. Hashtag no limitations. Hashtag no limitations. Coach Maggie just told us it's the only limitations that you put on yourself that will be limitations for you. So hashtag no limitations. Let's go with that. Thank you, Coach Maggie.
absolutely that's the only limitation, the one you put on yourself. And I this question that you've just asked and the one that you asked prior to that, they almost intertwine. And I will celebrate Professor Estella because I mean she's got some great credentials. But those who are listening now at this live and those who will listen whenever they can, here's what here's what Maggie, and Professor Estella bring to the table. There are no limitations in our lives, and there is no finish line. We're not young girls, we're not young 25-year-olds, all right? And there is no finish line for us. We have not stopped, we keep going, and we're still bringing the best of us to the table. There is absolutely nothing that should deter you. If you think you want to do something to inspire and to bring hope to someone else, just improve on yourself.
Okay.
Just improve on yourself wherever you are. You can make that change. All you have to do is one decision. I am going to make that decision to improve on my abilities to become who I want to be and bring whatever it is I want to bring to the world. You are gifted in so many ways, but you can't wait for someone to give it to you. You got to put up those pants and keep running and keep going. There are no limitations. You got to make that decision, improve on your abilities, dig up deep down inside of you what your gifts are, and go. Keep going, keep
Wow.
running. Let's do
I,
it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Professor, while I was preparing for this
Mm,
show, I read quite a lot about you. And one thing I read was that you were a first generation college student, and you had to surmount language barriers and even family pressures in a field where they said the girl child was not capable of doing it. You did something. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so it's as Coach Maggie has said, truly there is no limitation to what a woman can accomplish. And I grew up with a mother who believed very much in empowering the girl child. Anybody who knows my mother would agree with me. She believed so much in investing in the girl child because she believed that if a woman had economic independence, educational independence, then she will not be limited by the structures that we've set up in society, right? So we talk about women limitations, and Coach Maggie has said there's absolutely no limitation. The only limitations we have is what society has placed on us in terms of the structures perpetuating that the male child or that the man is a breadwinner of the family. The man is the only one that can accomplish a lot. And so I usually tell people that it's a miracle that I stand here. I'm speaking to people in my capacity and my role that I have in higher education. There was nothing in my path that really prepared me for this. Of course, my friends from high school say, "Oh, but you were really smart. So we knew you were going to go places." Going places doesn't necessarily mean leadership, right? And so you can have a role, but you don't necessarily have to, you are not necessarily a leader. And I today I'm a geophysicist, but I went to in my secondary school, Sacred Baptist College that I went to. People may not realize this. I was actually prevented from taking physics because I didn't do well in my Form 3 physics exam. But today I'm a geophysicist. Literally, I was not. Yes.
Amazing.
So
How
I
did you
ended.
overcome that
So it
obstacle?
is so funny. So I ended up. I had this random collection of courses to take for the GC advanced ordinary level. I was put in an economics class with quote unquote the art students because literally I didn't pass physics in Form 3. Actually, I don't even remember if I didn't pass it. Probably didn't do very well. Didn't have the proper grade, so I didn't do physics. And you can imagine the big limitation that placed on me.
Hmm.
But because when I now fast forward to come to college, and I also tell the story how um, in high school also I had a teacher that I really think is the one that really inspired me to become a geoscientist or a geologist. But remembering him saying, girls always fail this class, so they just really retard the boys. And one thing about me is that when you challenge me, I get inspired.
Okay.
So
Wait,
I
wait,
don't.
wait, wait, Professor. Can you just say that again so we can sink in? Because hearing your story, many women face rejection sometimes. Like
Yes,
we hear too many no's. We hear too many no's, and to an extent where it's like the no's become part of our identity, and we
yes,
start believing that we cannot do it because of the many no's that we have received.
that's
So
correct.
you just said something that triggered me seriously. Anytime you hear a no, what happens to you?
I get inspired to challenge that no
Mm,
and to prove that I can overcome that particular barrier.
okay.
I tell my team, I say challenges are opportunities for growth. They're
Yes.
not barriers. They're
Yes.
opportunities for growth. And that is the way I've always seen it in my life. And that's the way I've been able to overcome those barriers. So when I came to college in the United States, the good thing about liberal arts education is that you get to take everything. So I had to go back and take that physics. I took that math. And um, when I decided that I wanted to leave geology to geophysics, which is again different because geophysics is a lot more quantitative. You have to take more math classes, more physics classes.
Mm,
And I worked hard, and that was what I wanted to do, and therefore I did what I needed to do to invest in myself so that I could become what it is that I wanted to
You
be.
work hard.
I worked
You
hard.
did what you needed to do to
Yes,
invest in yourself. You didn't
yes,
take no for an answer. Actually,
no,
you were inspired by the no.
yes,
Wow.
And
Thank you. Yes.
and she accepted no boundaries, no barriers.
yes.
And she accepted no boundaries, no barriers. We are still talking on this issue of rejection and women. Coach Maggie, have you faced rejection in your own life, and how did you handle those rejections to be the person you are today, an inspiration to many, adding value, always adding value everywhere you go, and just being that inspiration? Tell us about your story of rejection if you have any.
Susan, I face rejection every day. And when I say every day, it might not be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but every day you face rejection. Every day I face rejection. I face rejection for many reasons. Sometimes, I face rejection just because of the way I speak. Sometimes I face rejection just because of who I am. I just will not back down. And sometimes people can misunderstand that for being overly aggressive. That's not what it is. I'm just driven, I'm just determined. So some of my values can be misunderstood and I can get rejected for that. That's not a setback.
Okay.
I am only human, so it does affect me and it will affect me for a little while, but I'm not going to live there. That's not my home.
So
I mean,
it's different. Living in that space of rejection is a different story.
that is a different story.
Mm.
Because if you live in that space,
Mhm.
then you're not honoring the gifts that have been bestowed by you, by the one and only King. Because he is the giver and he can be the taker. But I am going to embrace who I am and I'm going to pick up again and I'm going to move forward. So, yes, I face rejection all the time, every single time. I face rejection when I go into a workplace and, you know, ask to see an executive because I want to share with them what I have to offer so I can help their teams perform at a high level of accountability and responsibility. That's what I aim to do. That's what I'm here to do. And sometimes you get that look from the head to the toe, from the toe to the head, and you feel that, you're being undermined, but that is my feeling. I do not know if that is true, but sometimes the look you get and you can sense some kind of emotion that is just not a feel good one. You get that, but that does not define me.
Oh,
Who's next?
yes.
Who else can I serve? It may not be you, but there's someone else waiting for me.
Who's next? Who else can I serve? Because these do not define me.
No, no,
Wow.
no,
Wow.
no.
Wow.
So,
So,
yes, the
so
rejection
whatever,
will come. It will
yes.
come. Just do not live in that space. You don't belong there. You keep moving.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to thank you so much, Coach Maggie. You don't belong in that space. The rejections will come because you don't determine how people respond or react to life. But hey, we are responsible for our own actions and reactions to those things that people do. I'm coming back to the professor. You talked about how structures in the society could be a limitation. What are some of those structures, and how can a girl, a lady that's facing some of these structures, how can she thrive? How can she overcome? How can she be who she needs to be despite the structures or in
Mhm.
spite of the structures?
So when we think about, this is at universities and even in the global workplace today,
Yes.
The buzzword today is diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, in higher education, we now even require professors who are applying for positions to provide what we call a DEI statement because we're trying to create a much more inclusive workplace.
Okay.
And this, because we talked about this societal structures, there's issues of sexism, um, people stereotyping other people and limiting our roles and limiting us from what it is that we can become. And our goal today is to try to remove these barriers so that everybody can thrive, so that
Yes.
people's contributions can be valued. So you see yourself as a very valuable member of the organization. And I'm sure Coach Maggie, these are the sort of things that she works on in building teams to make them to be more inclusive, And so I am in a profession that in the past that has always been very, very male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, there were very, very few geologists. When I came into college, you would have maybe 80% men in the field of geology and maybe 20%. In the United States, the federal government has worked really hard to increase the participation of women. So women are now close to maybe 40%. Uh, but for somebody like me, there's a lot of intersectionalities in my life, right? I'm a woman. I am a black woman. And then I speak with an accent. And so all these things collide, right? And so life for me is not just straightforward. It's actually quite complex because I wear these different hats. And with those different hats, there's a lot of stereotyping that can, in fact, place limitations on what it is that I want to do. I We always say that when you are a black person at work, you got to work like 5 times as hard. I'm sure Coach Maggie has heard this a lot of times, and trying to convince the young people that no, you don't want to work 5 times as hard. But the truth is that people expect more from you. People question why you are in that space. Are you really qualified to be in this space? Who are you? What do you really have to show? So you have to work so hard to try to get above the average. It is unfortunate because then we're placing these pressures on young women, on
Yes.
young black women,
Yes.
on black people to say, but you know, doing just okay is not good enough because they will just pass you by. You need to really, 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 really shine where they cannot argue with you or they cannot overcome or overlook that excellence. And so we work so hard to be excellent at the things that we do just so that we can get that recognition where people are going to recognize us for who we truly are and our contributions, not just because they think that perhaps we got this position because of the color of our skin. It's not a very good place to be. But these are the types of pressures that we face. The stereotyping, a man can do better than a woman for the same job. A man gets paid more than a woman for the same job. And so, what I've done in leadership is to bring these lived experiences to inform me on how I manage the organization. That's the way when people ask me, that's truly, I tell them, I said, I, as a leader, want to work on those issues that I faced so that another person should not have to go through the same things that I went through. And
Wow.
that's the way I have seen. That's the way I've actually um, been as a leader. Okay.
Wow.
So, for example, I was an international student, and I couldn't get funding when I finished my master's degree from Harvard University, and I ended up, I mean, funding to continue with my PhD program. I knew my parents couldn't pay the school fees. That was a lot of money, and so I started looking for opportunities globally, literally. And I ended up in Canada because the university in Canada would give me funding. despite the fact that, as you saw from my CV, I graduated from Howard University with a magna cum laude, and that's very, very high honors. And still, because I was an international student in those days, it's not today. Things have changed today a little bit. I couldn't. So you know what I did when I became a department chair or when I became a faculty member? Behind closed doors, I worked really hard to advocate for international students by changing the way we evaluate students. And I said, if we want talent in our graduate programs, then we need to hire talent irrespective of their demographic, the color of their skin, or where they come from.
Wow.
And that's what I did. And by so doing, I opened opportunities for those international students because that's what I experienced. And I didn't want talent to be rejected because they were an international student. So that's just one little
Yes.
example of some of the things that,
Yes.
yes,
Wow, thank
Very
you so
good.
much for sharing that.
Very good.
It's bringing change in the places where you've suffered and being informed by history, being
yes,
informed by
yeah,
history to make changes for the future. And
Very good.
we believe that that is the only way forward, because if we don't get that information from history, that knowledge from history, and use it to make the future better, then we will be repeating history over and over. So, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to us, our guests are ready to take your questions. And when we come back, we are going to be looking at how women can strategically own their futures.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time. This is Leaders, brought to you by Leaders World Institute. With us in the studio, we have Coach Maggie Jean. We also have Professor Estella Atekwana, and we are talking women, leadership, and success. We are hoping that this inspires you in your leadership journey, in your personal development journey. This inspires you in your role modeling efforts as a woman. Today, we right now want us to talk about how women can strategically own their futures. You're listening to us. You have a dream. You have a plan. How can that come to pass? Looking at your surroundings, sometimes everything is not going for you. Coach Maggie is here. Professor Estella is here. Coach Maggie, how can women strategically own their futures?
Well, I stepped out in faith and owned mine. So, my last 40-hour, 60-hour a week paying job, I was in the corporate world for a very long time. I had many high level executive positions, but my last job, I stayed there for 13 and a half years. And in March of 2018, I decided that I would take a bold step and start my own business. Not
Wow.
that I had not been thinking of it, because you got to put some thought into what you want to do. And despite the fact that you will put the thought in and you will be strategic and you will have a vision of what there'll be, it's not going to be all straightforward. There will be bumps and bruises in the road, and you have to be able to stomach that. You have to be mentally strong to go through whatever it is, because everything we've spoken about prior to this question will become challenges.
hmm
So I own that decision. I decided that I want to bring so much more to the world, because I know I could influence and impact lives to help make the changes for those persons who want to make a decision like that. So I left the corporate world and I decided that I am going to change my life and be all that I am meant to be in this world so I can help affect somebody's life so they too can become better and I could be an example for them and know that they too can make a decision like that. So,
Coach Maggie, what are some of the lessons you learned on that journey in owning your future?
oh my goodness, we're going to take a year and a Christmas to tell you all these lessons that I have learned. You know, you get out, I got out there because I knew my experiences, I knew what I brought to the table. But Susan, what you think you have and what you think you bring, it's like people really don't understand unless you do just exactly what Professor Estella just spoke about a while ago. You have to continuously prove yourself. You
Hmm.
have to just continuously over and over and over. There is this thing about both conscious and unconscious bias. It's difficult, it's a long road. There is always a lot of doubt. It almost feel like you must have certain connections. You must have certain people who can help propel you. That is important, but that should not be the only way forward. I like to build my bridges. I don't like people to always build a bridge for me. It's important for people to help you build that bridge. It's very important. Don't misunderstand me. But I do not want to ride on somebody's coattails. I want to do me because I know what I bring to the table. But there can be so many doubts. And the journey has not been a smooth sailing one, but it is very fulfilling. And the
Hmm.
wins are great because there will always be wins. In as much as there are challenges, there are wins along the way. It
Hmm.
helps you become someone who is prepared to do so much more. All these challenges just prepare you and grow you to become that person who's going to meet those challenges.
Every
So,
challenge is
yeah,
preparation for the higher
yes.
levels.
So the fact is, I am saying along the way, no matter what you go through, just use it as this opportunity to grow.
Yes.
Just use it as this opportunity to grow. And there will definitely be people who surround you who really want to help you move forward. Make this your circle. Make this that circle that you can depend on, that you can ask questions, that you can, just, make help that they can help you be that source of strength.
Wow.
Yes. You
If
just
you're
have to.
listening to us right now, I want you to put in the comments who is in your circle.
Mhm.
Hashtag who is in your circle. If you're listening to us, let's know you're there. Hashtag who is in your circle. It's a question. Who is in your circle? Because the people that are in your circle, as we've heard from Coach Maggie, have a lot to do with whether you achieve your dreams or you do not achieve your dreams. Professor Estella, how can women be more strategic in owning their futures?
So as I heard Coach Maggie speak, here's some themes that came up and things that I've also used in my life. Number one, she talked about taking risk.
Oh, yes.
That requires boldness and confidence. She talked about being flexible because she was flexible enough with her career to see the alternative of starting her own business, taking control of her own life. She did not put herself in a shoebox. That's what I always tell my students. Don't put yourself in a shoebox. She talked about using her experience after all those years in the corporate world. So, taking charge of your skills that you've developed and using it to expand your horizons. So, let me also add to these things that she's talked about. And she also talked about surrounding yourself with the right people.
The right
That's
people.
that's network. That who's in your network, right? That's networking. Who's in your network? Who's there cheering you on? Who's there as your champion? Who's there as your encourager? And who is there as your promoter? These are the kinds of people that we need to have. I usually say everybody in their life must have a mentor, a coach, and a promoter. That's what she's been doing once she left the corporate world in 2018, trying to instill these principles in many people, in many organizations, as well as in people. My students will always hear me when I give them a pep talk say, serendipity is planned luck.
Mhm.
And luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So when I look at my life, it's been one serendipity after another. It's never like I actually sat down and planned that this is what I wanted to do. Actually, the only thing I really planned to do was to get a PhD to appease my parents for not going to medical school. Seriously, that was it. That was the only reason why I decided to go get a PhD to be called a doctor so that I could satisfy them. Interestingly, it's only like a couple of years ago that my dad looked at me. I don't know if it was when I was named the dean at Davis or when he says, "Daughter, I am so proud of you." Think about it. How many years it took my dad to hear my dad tell me that?
Mm,
Yes.
right.
So I tell my students that serendipity is planned luck.
Wow.
And for you to take advantage of these opportunities, you have to be prepared.
Mm,
And that preparation requires investment in yourself.
mm-hmm.
And that investment comes through education, right? Developing those skill sets that you would need in case some opportunity comes along. You're prepared to take it. If Coach Maggie did not have those skills to be able to do the work that she does now in coaching people to be leaders, she
Right.
would not be able to start that business.
Yes.
But she she was able to do that. So the other thing I want to add is you need to have a plan. You need to
Yes.
have a road map for your life. And I'm saying this in hindsight, which is always 2020, because I never really had a plan to become a dean, but I had the skills, I had the education, I had a network. So when these opportunities came along, I took advantage of them. I never really understood what it meant to have a plan until when I was working at Oklahoma State University and I became the head of department.
Mm-hmm.
We had a big donor,
Yes.
Boone Pickens. He's of late. Boone Pickens was a billionaire. And so would invite him to come talk to the students and inspire them. And so he told me, he says, and that's what he always tell the students, he says, I want this department to be a great department, to be the best in America, to be the best in the world. That's a tall order. He was willing to invest in it, but he said, but you need to have a plan. He says, go get a plan. And one of his famous quotes is that a fool with a plan is better off than a genius without a plan.
Wait. That needs to sink again.
Yes. So he would say, if you type famous quotes of Boone Pickens, he would say, a fool with a plan is better off than a genius without a plan. Then
Wow.
you say, so go get a plan and act on it because a plan without action is not a plan, it's a speech. That resonated with me. And
Wow.
from that day forward, I tell my students, I tell my faculty, when I go to a university, the first thing I do is a strategic plan.
Wow.
So you
Wow.
have to have a plan for your life. You set
Wow.
goals, you need to set goals to accomplish that plan.
Wow.
Because without setting goals, writing them down, putting some metrics to it and
Mm,
some timelines,
Mm.
You're not going to go anywhere. But
Okay.
never let the plan become an enemy to be flexible to take advantage of opportunities. So
Wow.
I always say our plans need to be living documents. They need to be living plans, which means
Yes.
they can change as things arise. Because sometimes the danger that I find in many places and many people is I have this plan. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to change. And
Mm.
opportunities come, they're
Mm.
not doing, I have a plan. It's
Wow.
really amazing, you know. So I had a student once. I just wanted to tell you the story because her plan was to finish school, go back to her home state. And I said, you know, your ultimate goal of what you want to do should be greater than where it is that you work.
Mm.
Until today, this former student of mine has she never, I think, achieved what I think she could have been able to achieve because she was really, really bright. But she limited
Mm.
herself by not
Mm.
taking advantages of opportunities as they arose because they wanted to be in a particular place. And
Mm.
people do that all the time. They limit themselves into what kind of jobs they can have because, oh, I have a degree in nursing, so I must only work in nursing. But there are
Mm.
skill sets that you pick up during nursing that could be used to do other things. And that's what allows you to pivot into starting your own business, as Coach Maggie has said.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Listen. Listen. Why is the time always so short? All right. If you're watching us, you're listening to us, put in the comments hashtag plans are living documents.
That's right.
Plans are living documents. Plans are living documents. Put that. Plans are living documents. Put that. If you're watching now, you're listening to us, put in the comments hashtag plans are living documents. Phew. If that's the only thing I leave here with, I'm going to run with that for quite a while. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the last 6 minutes. Now I don't even know what question to ask and what questions not to ask. But if you have a question, this is your opportunity. All right. Sometimes when we are off here, people send questions. Hey, they're already gone. There's no way I can catch them and ask them again. So ask your questions now. Um, Coach
I have a
Maggie,
question though, Susan. I have a question though.
please
I think
do.
Rose Omar, she just made a lovely comment, and I appreciate that so much. However, I wish she would put in the comments what does she, because I'm a coach, I'm always curious as to how people are thinking. I wish she'd put in the comments what if she could expound a little on what does she mean by the importance of positioning yourself. I'm just curious, you know. That's
Okay.
just me being a
So
coach. So if
so
she put that in the
Rose
comments, I'd be very happy to read it. But let's go
so
with the questions.
Rose Oma says she's very proud of these sisters. She says, in addition to networking, preparing, and planning, may I add the importance of positioning yourself? So, Coach Maggie wants you to put that in the comments. What do you mean by positioning yourself? Thank you so much for being part of this broadcast and just adding value with your comments. Coach Maggie, what are some things that you do on a daily basis that define who you are?
With
Those
reg-
little things, those disciplines, those rituals.
I,
We
I
want
guess.
to go right there because we see you on this show talking, and we are like, so much wisdom. She's impacting so much lives, but we don't know the little things that you do. If you can just let us in on one or two of them.
I guess you're asking how I prioritize my time because we all have 24 hours.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
We all have 24 hours is what you do with them. Susan, my days are different because there are days that I structure, for my coaching clients, and there are days that I structure for me to go out there to network. And there are days that I, use to solicit business, one on one on the phone, etc. However, my day starts like that. I'm more or less a 5 a.m. person because I got to wake up and give a whole hour to who is my king. I don't play with my God. And I'm not imposing my faith on anybody who's listening to us right now. And I respect where they are, but I also want people to respect the fact that I love the man that I call my king. All right. So
So
I
you
give an
spend
hour,
a whole
a
hour
whole
with
hour
God.
in reverence, in prayer. I love to sing. If I'm not singing in the morning, then I'm listening to good music for at least the last 15 minutes.
Wow.
And this is the Lenten season, so there are certain rituals. That's just me, and that's how I want to honor him. All right.
Wow.
So after 6 o'clock, then of course, then I'll
So you're
probably read.
crediting who you are and all you do to
Mhm.
God, and that's a very important
Very
part
important.
of your day every day.
Very important.
Wow.
Very, very important. You can't take that away from me
Thank
because
you
it's
for letting us
very.
in on that
Yeah.
secret. We'll come to the professor and find out from you what are some things that you do on a daily basis which keep you going as a woman in leadership.
So just like Coach Maggie has said, I think spending time in the morning, meditating, is something that I do. So I wake up in the morning, and first the night before I have to look at my calendar because it goes crazy every day. And just so that I can have a mental note on the meetings that I have. In this position, there's a lot of decision making. Decision making requires wisdom. And therefore, that is one of the things that I ask every morning for God to give me the wisdom to lead the people that He's given me, put me in charge of. And so, my morning devotion and then exercise. Then, when I get to my office, the first thing I do is to, believe this or not, if you come to my office, you see little notepads, stickies, yellow notepads, and I put down my goals for that day, what I'm going to accomplish.
Very good.
And just remembering that there's so many things that I need to do, and therefore I have to prioritize which is the most important thing that I need to do of all those things that need to be done for that day. It
Yes.
really helps to keep me focused
Okay.
so that I'm somebody that likes
So
to
you
see out.
prioritize, and one of the
Yes.
tools that you use is these
I'm
little
telling you, I love
stickies.
them.
These little stickies. I am in love with stickies as well.
I have them all over my computer desk, so sometimes it gets cluttered. But that's what I do. And I look through as I accomplish each one, I scratch it out, really.
Oh yes.
Every day I do that. It
Tell
helps
me about the
me
pleasure you get from scratching
from
those.
scratching it out. From checking the box,
Done.
not done, accomplished.
Done.
And I feel fulfilled. And people have always described me as a leader as transformative because I truly want to transform lives. And so I try to find out when I come into an organization, what are the problems? What are the concerns that the people have? Now, let's start working through them. And that's why I need these goals. I need to prioritize them. And I need to make sure that when I look at the 30,000 foot level, I'm seeing the areas of greatest need. And that's where I go in terms of my priority of things that I need to do.
Wow. I have written so much down. This has been so loaded. Um, I think we'll just have to come back. We'll just have to come back to this show and watch it again and listen to it again. And if serendipity permits,
Plan,
Serendipity is
love.
who
kind of
knows? Who
luck.
knows? We might be having our guests back because
Yes.
I just feel like we were able to scratch a surface, which is good. But sometimes we are like Oliver Twist that wants more.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, we are saying a big thank you to Coach Maggie. Your last words to our audiences. There are women watching us because they saw you on the flyer, they saw you on the poster, and they're like, I want to watch because I want to hear what Coach Maggie is saying. What would you say to that lady that's looking up to you right now, maybe as a role model, maybe as somebody that's an inspiration or an encourager? What would you say to that lady?
First, I want to thank you so much, Susan, for this opportunity to be here. I want to thank Rose Omar for, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. If I'm not, please accept my apology for sharing. Based on the question that I asked her, well, for sharing with us what position is. So thank you so much, Rose. I want to thank you, Professor Estella, for the honor of sitting in a room with you, and I am gathering that we have many qualities that we share as leaders, and I thank you. I thank you for the good work you have done in the society and the good work that you do for everyone, not only women, but everyone, because, our sons, our husbands, they need us, and I thank you for that. And what I'm going to leave with our young women today, or women on the whole, Susan, is what is that conversation you now need to have with yourself? Where is it that you want to go? What are the steps you are going to take to help you get there? And who are those people that you're going to bring along with you in your circle to help move you forward? What is that conversation you now must have with yourself? That's my contribution.
If you want to write that down, please go ahead and write it down so you can run with that dream. That is the question the coach is asking you. A
I'm a coach
question,
after all.
a question from a coach is always a question that you don't want to not write down. You want to write it down and look at it again and run with it. This is from Coach Maggie. And Professor Estella, there are women who have heard you, who will hear you, because after now we are going to throw this on social media platforms all over the place, on our podcast and YouTube, LinkedIn.
Mhm.
What are you telling them?
First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to your audience. Coach Maggie, you're such a inspiration. So I need to get some more coaching lessons from you. Such a
Absolutely.
delight, to get to know you.
I'd like
But
that too.
as we've said, these are really timely topics, because so many women have been beaten up by the fact that you can't be this, you can't be that. And we believe these lies of ourselves. And that really does limit us. We said that there's nothing that really limits a woman. I fundamentally do not believe that there's any difference between a man and a woman when it comes to anything that people can do.
Yes.
However, society has perpetuated the male dominance and make us feel that only men can do certain things. We're all humans. God gave us the abilities to do everything that we could do. We do have different talents, of course, so we're better at some things than at others. I acknowledge that. So I just want the young girls, women, whether young or old, out there to believe in themselves.
Yes.
You have to believe in yourself that you can do it. Don't say I can't. Say I can for whatever it is that is placed in front of you. Some of the things that we've talked about, we've looked at my life and also looked at Coach Maggie's life, is we talked about you have to believe in yourself. And I said every person needs a mentor, a coach, and a promoter. And those are the people that you need to surround yourself with. That mentor is a person that you go to that can help you navigate those challenges and helps you to put together that plan that we talked about, getting a plan. That coach, that's what she does. What do coaches do? They really inspire you to do better.
Yes.
They say you can do it. When you say I'm so tired, you can do it. Get up 5 o'clock, do this. You can do it. That's what the coach does, is really push you and brings out in you that potential that you have that is just sitting there in the background.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that promoter, those are the people that position you for that next opportunity. That
Yes.
would say, oh, I know of somebody. People, I wasn't looking for a job when UC Davis came to me, but there was somebody at that university that had seen me somewhere
Yes.
that came and said, there is an opportunity, and spent a whole hour with me, telling me, encouraging me. That's a promoter because they promote you. We have athletes, uh, artists, they all have promoters. Those are the people that promote them to
Wow.
give them those opportunities.
Wow.
So I truly believe that as women, we need these three kinds of people in our network. They can help us move, to that next level. We have to remain flexible. I was flexible enough to leave the United States, go to school in Canada because I wanted to achieve that dream of mine.
Mm.
Many times, if we are not flexible, we miss out on a lot of those opportunities.
Wow.
You have to take the risk.
Yes.
Maggie took that risk transitioning from the corporate world. Do you know how the fear of saying, oh, but I'm getting this big check here, it's going to take me a while to build over there.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yes.
going to stay here where it is safe.
Yes.
You don't grow if you're safe. You don't go anywhere if you want to remain
Mm.
safe.
Mm.
You must take that step.
Right.
My friend Rose Omar was posting in, she took a big leap of faith to leave her day job and start a business that is flourishing. And I'm so proud of you, my friend and my sister, because you're also an inspiration to so many women out there that
Wow.
you can do it. So, my advice in closing is you can. Never tell yourself, I can't. You
Mm.
can. Tell yourself, I can. And look, draw inspiration from some of the women out there in your life that have taken bold steps and done great things to say, if they can, then I can.
Wow. Who is your promoter? Who is your mentor? Who is your coach? Who is in your network? If you're listening to us, the last hashtag you're going to give us is I can. I don't even know if you're giving us or you're giving yourself because I'm going to go in there and give my own hashtag because I need this. Go ahead and just put I can, I can, I can, I can, hashtag I can. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all the time we have. Thank you for hanging out with us and we'll see you again.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.